And welcome back to the Always Be Building show, hosted here by Dynasty Football Factory Network. I am Chalmers, joined as always by my buddy, my partner in crime, Ryan Odell, a.k.a. Deli. Ryan, say what's up to the people, baby.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing tonight? We're continuing this series of the rookie review. This is going to conclude it for us, though. Instead of just going through the third and fourth round, we thought it'd be better to kind of filter a lot of this. A lot of these guys don't have a great hit rate in these rounds. So we think we're going to highlight a few of these guys we have faith late in these drafts. And we're going to hit on some of those guys instead of just going through play after play after player. And like I said, these are late round guys. They're diamonds in the rough, if you will. We're not pointing these guys and saying, hey, these guys are for sure going to break out. But at value, where you're getting them in drafts, I think these guys are 100% worth a shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before we get going with the podcast tonight, I just want to bring up the fact that over the Dynasty Football Factory, we work with a lot of talented people. Redraft, Best Ball, Dynasty, Devy, DFS, all types of football content. It's a lot of football content. So please check out the site, dynastyfootballfactory.com. Memberships are very, very affordable. $4.99 a month, $1.67 annually is what it comes out to be. So I just want to give you guys that access to all the content over at Dynasty Football Factory. You'll not only get our content, you'll get a lot of great content creators over there, a lot of different viewpoints, and a lot of solid information. So before we get going with that, like you said, third and fourth round are the ultimate dart throws.
Yeah.
How many Puka Nakuas are you going to find? How many
Puka Nakuas are going to find? Probably none ever again.
It's a tough thing. But in the third and fourth round, there's a lot more misses than there are hits. So let's just talk about that first. There's a lot of guys here that we like at value, though. I actually like the third round more than I do the mid-second round.
Yeah.
So
value speaking with. There's a few guys that I think we're going to touch on in this round that I feel like probably should be back end second opposed to like mid-third.
Yes.
Sometimes going into the fourth. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Anybody you want to start off with in particular tonight?
Come on, man. So the first person that I want to discuss in the third round, don't know how we got to this point, but that would be Mr. Troy Franklin. So with Troy Franklin, the first thing I want to point out is the draft capital did not suffice any dynasty owner. It was all full draft capital. 102, fourth round, second pick in the fourth round. The Broncos trade up. But what I like about this is the Broncos, they trade up to get a wide receiver that their QB in the first round feels comfortable with. This was Bo Nix's guy, Troy Franklin. And the Denver Broncos are looking for an identity. They have no identity. This team has nothing to build around for a future. Are Bo Nix and Troy Franklin this team's identity?
We'll see. Draft cap would not say so as far as Troy Franklin goes. I'm not sure why he slid. I mean, obviously he's a guy that me and you have been high on for a few months now, honestly, since the beginning in season for college football. Nonetheless, he falls. Nothing we could do about it. Us content creators are wrong more often than not, sadly. But yeah, I mean, dude, 1,300 yards, almost 1,400 last year, 14 touchdowns. He had 9 in 2022 with Bo Nix. He stays linked with him. He touched on. I think that's a huge thing. The identity thing with the Broncos is tough because, I mean, really they have nothing but Javonte Williams, and even he's not what he was supposed to be. That being said, they do have Troy Franklin as a bright spot, I would say, especially given late value. He's an analytical darling. Watch the tape. I think he screams talent. The route tree for me is there. I'm happy with what I see on film. Speed's on point. I don't know why he slid, but if I can get him in the front of the third round, I'm not hesitating at all.
So I went back and watched the tape, and I think I found reasons as to why he may have slid. And I want to discuss that with everybody here. But like you said, an analytical darling. Top 5 in the country in targets over 15 yards and air yards 15-plus yards. Top 5 in the country. Number 1 receiver in the country in yards per route run versus man. Over 5 yards per route run versus man. The best in the country, not even close. Overall, top 3 in the country in yards per route run. Up there with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. Rome Odunze, who earned top 10 draft capital, did not accomplish it.
Yeah.
So the difference between Troy Franklin and Rome Odunze, let's look at it. You got a 6'3 guy, 180 pounds, soaking wet, versus a 6'2", 6'3 guy, 215, stud of a man. Slender, slim build, but those things tend to not really worry me when it comes to football anymore. We're not playing in the early 2000s where receivers were getting their heads taken off across the middle. Those things don't happen. So the slender build doesn't concern me. The biggest thing that concerns me is the drop percentage that's north of 20% for Troy Franklin. When we talk about automatic, Troy Franklin at times is not automatic, whether it be contested catch situations, whether it be just focus drops or anything in that nature. Troy Franklin does struggle with that in that area.
Yeah, it's the drops. Going back, looking at it again, trying to figure out what's going on. The drops are really concerning. Hopefully it's something he can plan out, work out with the team, especially keeps continuing to work with his quarterback. We'll see if it buffs out.
I love Troy Franklin, though. Troy Franklin was my wide receiver for this class. Once the draft capital and that played out, analytically, he still is my wide receiver for this class.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now you don't have to buy him at the 1.9 price you were paying for him. I do believe draft capital can be a deterrent on some players. I think you would look crazy if you took Troy Franklin at the 1.9 in today's Dynasty rookie startups. So why not buy him in the late second, early third? Easy pick.
Yep, for sure. Moving on to the next guy, the guy I'm going to pluck off the board, who I think I'm most excited to see how his career pans out. I'm going Kamani Vidal out of Troy. I think he's got a solid opportunity there with the Chargers. First of all, you would imagine in the Harbaugh offense, they're probably thinking run heavy, right? They bring in a couple running backs, actually the Ravens running backs, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. If you haven't watched football in the last 4 years, J.K. Dobbins is made of glass, cannot stay on the field whatsoever, and Gus Edwards is 29 years old now. I don't think either of these guys can handle a full workload, and then that leaves a window for Vidal to come in and take some touches here and there everywhere. He was a productive runner there, 2,700 yards rushing in the last 2 seasons with Troy and 24 touchdowns. Screams value there, talent. I mean, I think he's a guy that's being overlooked right now. He's going in mid to late fourths. I think he should probably be more towards the end of the third, if we're being honest, maybe even higher. It's definitely going to be something to monitor during like preseason and rookie warm-ups and all that stuff. But man, Vidal, I think he's got an excellent window and a great landing spot with the Chargers.
Yeah. The draft capital doesn't bode well. 181st pick on the board.
Right.
But no running back, their draft capital really stands out to me outside of Trey Benson, outside of Jonathan Brooks, and I guess Blake Corum. But with Blake Corum, we didn't love the situation he was drafted to anyway. So when you mix all that, we told you that this running back class wasn't special by any means. But when you're looking for the gems, the diamonds in the rough, you have to look at Kamani Vidal. Like you said, almost 2,800 rushing yards and 24 touchdowns his last 2 years at Troy. On top of that, over 20 catches in 3 of his 4 seasons at Troy there as well. But with Kamani Vidal, the best thing that I noticed is the broken tackle percentage. Top 2 in the NCAA last year, and 96 broken tackles, which was also number 2 in the NCAA. Dude's built for it, 5'8", 211. Obviously, you're talking about a 5'8" running back, but the dude is 211. He's built, and he's built solid. And this is what you want. You want the running backs north of 200 in the weight class. Tested very well athletically. The biggest thing for me is the pass protection.
Yeah.
He's not a very good blocker when it comes to that aspect of it. And a guy like Justin Herbert, who just signed a multi-year big contract, you have to be able to keep him upright. You have to keep him upright. So there's flags. There's red flags in the profile, no doubt. But as a pure runner, when you're mixing him in with Gus Edwards, who's a 29-year-old true first and second down running back, and J.K. Dobbins, who we haven't seen play a full season yet, is rough.
It gets rough.
Gets rough.
I got hope for Vidal going into the season. Hope he can carve himself a spot out. Like you said, pass protection definitely needs work. But everybody we're going to talk about, everybody past probably realistically pick 2-6 has some type of red flag. The thing is you have to pick and choose your red flags.
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep rolling down the wide receivers.
Fair enough.
So these are my biggest flag plants on the wide receiver position in this class, outside of the big four, big five, however you want to look at it. So Javon Baker. Again, draft capital does not bode well for Javon Baker. His teammate, who we are going to talk about later in this podcast, he got the draft capital. But I still will tell you Javon Baker is a better wide receiver than Jalen Polk. That is what it is. I'm a big fan of Javon Baker. Huge fan. Again, we talk about the draft capital not being great, but the New England landing spot is actually ideal. You're competing with targets. Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry. These guys don't stand out as elite options, and especially long-term options for the New England Patriots. I think when you come into this wide receiver room, there's a true competition for who's going to be on the field and who's going to earn wide receiver 1 targets. And I love that. I think Javon Baker, quote unquote, has the most dog in him.
Yeah, on this roster, I think everybody just listed, even with Jalen Polk being drafted early, we'll get to in a second. But Javon Baker is probably the only receiver on this team that profiles as a true X outside receiver. Everybody else seems like second to slot type of guys. I think you're going to see Javon Baker lined up on the outside a lot more than people think of this season. Now, what that means for Drake May's rookie season, I'm not 100% sure. But when you're looking at Javon Baker, you could bring in a guy that had 21.9 yards per catch in college last year. It's absolutely insane. He's going to be the deep threat guy. They're going to try to get the ball in his hand, see what he could do. I get the draft capital. It's a little bit concerning. But that being said, with what talent they have, there's no way he's not on the field.
Yeah. We see players dropping drafts all the time. And they come out with this miracle story. They get people's names tattooed on them that were drafted ahead of them. You know what I mean? It's just funny how this pans out. And I'm not saying he's a Monter St. Brown, but remember, Monter St. Brown was a 4th-round pick. AB was a 6th-round pick. I mean, we can keep going on the list of players that were found later in drafts.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
So with Javon Baker, I think the thing that really killed him was just his average testing at the combine. He was just an above-average athlete. It didn't stand out as over the top. He didn't have a Donnie Mitchell. He didn't have that type of performance at the combine, which is fair. He wasn't supposed to. He was never that guy. But when it comes to winning on all 3 levels of the field, when it comes to understanding when to break off routes, how to sit down in zone coverage, how to beat your man one-on-one, how to use your body positioning, your control, your catch radius, your hands, he's got that. He has all of that.
Yeah.
He fights through every route. He runs some of the hardest routes that I've seen. His routes are crisp for how big he is. He's smooth. He's smooth. And the thing was, another analytical darling. Yards per route run, especially at UCF, well north of 2.5 for his career. Javon Baker is a great buy in the 3rd round. Great buy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and round out the Patriots receivers here. Touch on Jalen Polk.
Might as well go Jalen Polk.
Might as well get it over with. Well, not get it over with, because I think he's a fine prospect, if we're being honest. He went a lot higher in these drafts than we expected. Top of the 2nd round for the Patriots. They got their pairing that they wanted, hand-selected for their quarterback 1, right in the 2nd round. They went Drake May, next round Jalen Polk. Obviously, they see something in this kid that us analysts and people in Dynasty don't see, right? They have a plan for him. 69 catches, 1,159 yards, 9 touchdowns last year. Doesn't happen by luck. He's He's got great size and strength, and I know I just said that Javon Baker is a prototypical X. I also think that Jalen Polk can probably play on the outside opposite of Javon Baker and maybe get the majority of these targets this year. I'm excited to see Jalen Polk cook this year. I hope this is a guy that we've been introduced to by our boy, True Russell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to him if he's out here watching. He put us on to him, and even he probably couldn't have guessed that he went in the top of the second round. But, man, he's got the opportunity lined up.
Top 37, never would have guessed it. To be honest with you, early in their careers, I thought Jalen McMillan was better than Jalen Polk. Before the injury his sophomore year going to his junior year, Jalen McMillan was the wide receiver 2, in my opinion, on the Washington team, outside of Jalen Polk. With Jalen Polk, I will give it to you. Size stands out. Strength stands out. Contested catch situations stand out. Strong hands stand out. But the difference between Javon Baker and Jalen Polk being this, I think Javon Baker plays a lot stronger at the catch point. I also think Javon Baker plays a lot stronger at the line of scrimmage. I think he's better off the release of the line of scrimmage. I think he's stronger in that aspect. I don't think you're going to see him get jammed physically by physical DBs. I don't think you see that. But I don't think Jalen Polk is strong at the line of scrimmage. He's very, very bland when it comes to getting off the line.
Yeah.
And I think that can hurt him because he doesn't create separation well. He's not one who's going to beat the man in man coverage. He's not the one who's going to beat him very often. I think Jalen Polk is going to thrive more in zone scheme situations than man scheme situations. I don't worry about Javon Baker at all on the field.
Whatsoever.
No.
So between the two, given the opportunity, you're taking Javon Baker.
Yeah, I am.
I'm a little bit bored. I'm still undecided. Honestly, I really wouldn't mind owning either of them. If one got plucked right before me, I'm probably just going to take the other and keep it pushing.
Yeah, like I said, I think the difference being how Jalen Polk, like I said, gets off the line of scrimmage. It's so bland. It's so boring.
Yeah.
He's not very good at it. He doesn't win in many man-on-man situations outside of the contested catch areas in that situation. I just see Javon Baker being more of a true 3-down asset. So that's just me. But I do like Jalen Polk, and I do think he's a good pick in the 3rd round. Especially, we don't know how this wide receiver room is going to play out. We really don't.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So
who you got?
You plucked one of the running backs. I'm going to pluck the other running back. So you got to talk about Vidal. Tyrone Tracy is another running back that truly intrigues me. And we talk about the running backs. We don't like the running back situations overall. We talked about it. We didn't like Blake Corum's landing spot. We didn't know it was going to pan out. Braylon Allen, buried. Bye. See ya.
Yeah.
Again, we were talking about that. Aldrich Estime, we liked it. We did. But we didn't know. We projected him as like more of an A.J. Dillon type guy.
Yeah.
Who, in my opinion, he's not better than A.J. Dillon. Could be.
I don't think so.
But
I had to guess.
Again, I told you a couple days ago, I would rather own Jaleel McLaughlin in that backfield than Aldrich Estime.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
So as we keep going with this, but a name stood out to me, that would be Tyrone Tracy Jr. That name really stands out to me. Only significant running back competition would be Devin Singletary. He's on a 3-year deal. He's 26, going to be 27 years old. Has had monster playoff performances for the Buffalo Bills. Yes, he's a solid running back. He's not great. He's solid. And he earned that 3-year deal. I will say he earned that 3-year contract.
Sure.
He played very well. But with Tyrone Tracy, I really like the prospect. It's a very intriguing prospect. I like these guys that are transitioning from wide receiver to the running back position, and they're having success. They're finding success. So when you look at Tyrone Tracy, it's not out of the realm to see that he had more of a receiving upside in college than a running back upside. He looked good as a running back. He still averaged over 6 yards per carry for his full collegiate career, but his receiving profile just stands out. It just stands out.
Yeah.
He's got the size, man. He's 215. He's 5'9", 5'10", 215. You don't have to worry about the durability issues with that. I love the fact that he tested very well athletically. He comes with a unique blend of speed, elusiveness, and strength for the position. And the fact that he's still learning the running back position is very interesting to me. I don't think we've seen his ceiling as a runner, but we know what he brings to the table as a receiver.
Yeah. He's weird for me. And go Giants and everything. I'm glad that we drafted a running back. Thank God we got one. I'm a little bit hampered expectations for Tracy. He spent 6 years in college, and he transferred to running back position in 2021. Don't absolutely love that, to be honest with you. But you're right. I mean, he's learning the running back position literally as we speak. Right now in New York, he's learning the position. But he does have solid hands. A lot of people have him pegged, profiled as like a Deebo Samuel type guy. That's mini Deebo is kind of what I saw on Twitter for a while there, or like an Alvin Kamara type guy who can do both things out of the running back position. Something for me as far as fantasy goes, it's probably going to be Devin Singletary take the bulk of the carries, and you'll see Tracy get some catches here and there. I'm not sure how it's going to translate to fantasy world, given the draft capital and everything that goes into it. But man, he's definitely an interesting prospect. I'll give it to you. Because you see guys like Antonio Gibson, who maybe had a short spurt career, but looked pretty solid when given the opportunity. And you look at the same thing. Antonio Gibson made the transition in Memphis and went on to have a few decent seasons with Washington.
I bring up one thing with Antonio Gibson. Fumbles.
Yeah.
When it came to Antonio Gibson,
that's fair.
He put the ball on the carpet more than any running back in the league at that time. Tyrone Tracy in his 6 years, 2 fumbles.
So, well, didn't spend a lot of time in the running back position.
I'm just saying. Ball security.
Yeah, I get your point. He's not putting the ball on the ground. He went a full season. I think we had 1 fumble. All of last year.
Yes. And with Tyrone Tracy, these guys, you bring up Antonio Gibson, but I like to bring up another guy named Tony Pollard, who also did the same thing at Memphis. Now, granted, Tony Pollard's a lot smaller than Tyrone Tracy. I just like the unique way that the Giants could use him as a playmaker outside of Malik Neighbors. Name me playmakers. Wandale.
Wandale.
You know what I mean?
With Darius Slayton.
I like Theo Johnson. That's another name.
I was about to say your boy.
Like Theo.
Love Theo.
But name me solidified playmakers on the New York Giants.
To be honest with you, we don't have maybe any. To be honest with you, Neighbors.
That's what I said, Malik Neighbors. So why is it out of the realm of possibility that Tyrone Tracy gets his chance?
He can. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying it's tough. Given the draft cap, I would imagine they're going to do something with him. Given the fact that you're right, it's Devin Singletary. That's it.
That's
it. He's going to get playtime. There's no doubt about that. It's just what can you do with it, and what's the role going to look like when he gets into the offense, and will it transition to fantasy?
No, I will say he plays in the NFC East. It's real tough. It's real tough down there. It's real tough down there. It's not fun.
Yeah, no, it's not pretty.
Oh man, we got a couple more players that you really wanted to highlight in this 3rd and 4th round, Ryan. So good. I'll let you take your guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go continue the wide receivers. I went running back, and now I'm gonna knock out the receivers. I'm gonna go Jermaine Burton. I think he's an interesting prospect, right? I think he was really off of my radar until I saw Matt Harbin's reception perception chart, which basically shows you the success of their routes for those who don't know. And he hits on just about every single route. You'd think that his draft cap would be much higher than what it is, and that comes from more uncertainties we'll get to later. But as far as a talent prospect goes, he can win on all levels. He's linked to this offense with Joe Burrow. Tyler Boyd just went out the door, and T. Higgins is uncertain to be with the team in the following year. Do they work something out? Maybe, but that's not something I can tell you right now that T. Higgins is going to be on the team next year. I think it opens up a window for Burton to be in a high-profile offense who just also got rid of Joe Mixon. So you figure that ball's coming out more often this year than last. We'll see what Burton can do. I know a lot of negatives from Jermaine Burton come from off the field. But I think he's got a shot, man. I really, really do.
Yeah, I do too. The one thing that I like about Jermaine Burton, yes, he comes in at 6 foot, under $2. He's 196 pounds. But I love the fact if you watch his tape, he plays a lot bigger than 196 pounds. Dude is strong at the catch point. Dude is strong in all areas of the field. I love how he plays. Again, very limited college tape.
Yeah.
Not much. Scored on
doesn't have a season over 40 catches.
Scored on every 5.7 targets, though. I will say that it's pretty impressive, especially due with the lack of QB play, quote unquote. I won't say that Jalen Milroe was great at his Bama time. So I know we're being a little judgmental here on Jalen Milroe and the Alabama offense, but I'm going to tell you this. They weren't great. These aren't Alabama QB products that we were used to seeing in the past.
Yeah.
So with that being said, pretty impressive from Jermaine Burton here. The best thing that I like here about Jermaine Burton, like you said, you referenced Matt Harmon's reception perception chart. When I looked at that chart, over 70% of success on all routes.
Yeah.
All of them. Only other player to have that in this class, Rome Odunze.
Which honestly surprised me. I thought it would have been Neighbor or Harrison.
Right.
But no,
I think Neighbors had
Burton.
one route. I think it was the 9 route that got under Malik Neighbors. He was like 68%. So it was yellow. It wasn't red. Yeah, it was crazy. So Neighbors was close. Marvin Harrison was close. But either way, it was a Rome Odunze, Jermaine Burton. That's it. When you think of that, you think of first-round pick, second-round pick, those guys. So why? Let's dig into why. I was watching the pick when Jermaine Burton got drafted. Nick Saban sitting at the booth. Nick Saban, the greatest college coach of all time. A leader of men. We'll say that too. He specifically states, Jermaine Burton has a chance to be great. But mentally, if Jermaine Burton is not in it and he's not willing to put the work in, he will flame out.
Yeah.
Those are things you don't want to hear.
Yeah, and that's why it falls, because you get these guys that have this talent, all the talent in the world, they get drafted, but when it comes to the next level, you really got to want it. It's a whole different ball game in the NFL. If Burton can't find his wings, he's probably going to sink. But if we're getting him this late, we're throwing darts anyway. You might as well go find a guy that has a chance to be a 2 or 3 with Joe Burrow, who, in my opinion, is probably a top 7 quarterback in the league as far as arm talent goes. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, arm talent or top 5 QB. He's a top 5 QB.
Yeah.
But so the last player that we want to talk about tonight, it's the only tight end we're going to talk about. It's the only one.
You got one.
Ben Sinnott. Like we said, this class is very, very, very raw at the tight end position. Outside of these 2 tight ends, I have a flag plan for Theo Johnson. I'm a big Theo fan. Been following him since he was in high school. So that's why I like Theo so much. But Jatavian Sanders, not a fan.
Oh, I know.
Kate Stover, not a fan. We can keep going down the list. But Ben Sinnott, I am a fan. I am a fan of Ben Sinnott. So this is the only player on this list that we're going to talk about that has second round draft capital, a day 2 pick, not a day 3 pick. 53rd overall pick to the Washington Commanders. No competition for tight end targets outside of Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has an extensive injury history here, especially later in his career. He's 33, pushing 34 now.
The back end of his career. Yeah.
We're on the back end, aging out, completely aging out of the tight end position. The biggest thing that stands out for me is the athleticism for Ben Sinnott. For the tight end scale, registered a 9.3 RAS score. For everybody that doesn't know, that is a relative athletic score. Out of 10 is what it scored out of, 9.73. He was top 50 for the score ever produced. The score started in 1984. Just shows how much of an athletic beast that Ben Sinnott is. What's crazy is we still don't know Brock Bowers' rat score. It really bothers me.
Still don't.
But whatever.
We never will either.
We never will. But the thing that I notice about him, with that being said, when you watched him at K-State, the ability to win on all three levels has to stand out to you. Solid hands. Absolutely solid hands. But when you talk about a tight end that can beat you on all three levels, those aren't just floating around every single day. Yes, the tight end position is expanding, and I do think there are more relevant tight ends than there ever were before. But these guys, he got them in the second round here, paired him with a young QB and Jaden Daniels. Not many weapons that we truly love in Washington. You got Terry McLaurin, Dotson.
Love Terry.
I love Terry. Eckler.
We'll see. We'll see.
I think he can carve out a role early.
Yeah. I think he will just because, Zach Ertz, I really don't know what his role is going to be, if we're 100% honest. We might see Ben Sinnott early and often, to our surprise. But him to be with Jaden Daniels, it's kind of, and I hate using this term because I don't even love it when other analysts use, but as a check down guy, especially for a guy like Jaden Daniels, who's going to be scrambling with the ball in his hands, just to get the ball out real quick to an athletic tight end is huge. And just to note, we just talked about Tyrone Tracy learning the position. Ben Sinnott spent his freshman and sophomore year at the fullback position. He's just learning the tight end position, and he still managed 49 catches, 676 yards, and 6 touchdowns at K-State. And I know that's not great, but from a tight end perspective in college football, those are pretty solid numbers.
Yeah. So that's the last thing I bring up. When you talk about the position versatility and how he's learning it, then another thing that we point out as to playing time and when it comes to playing early and often, being a good blocker.
Yeah. Obviously, he's got that down.
He is a good blocker. He is great at the line of scrimmage. He is great on any kind of run, pull, counters, things like that. He's going to be on the field. He is. And the more you're on the field, the more of a chance you have for fantasy success and fantasy relevance.
Now, I will say, Zach Ertz also kind of a brick wall out there.
He is. He is. It's a lot different.
So might be part of watching this play. But like you said, there's not a lot of competition in this offense, to be honest with you. I mean, Terry McLaurin is the glaring one, but Jahan Dotson took a step back last year.
Eckler took a huge step back last year.
Not really sold on Brian Thomas. Austin Eckler, we'll see what he can do. But, man, I think Sinnott's got an opportunity. And just to touch on this point again, we're talking about guys in third and fourth round. These hit rates, I did an article on this, or started an article on this, didn't finish it, hands up. But these guys have like less than a 14% hit rate in these third and fourth rounds. Like, you're really throwing darts. And all these guys we've covered today, we can't sit here and promise you that all 6 of these guys are going to hit. But out of the third and fourth round, these are guys that me and Steven both stand by. We're trying to find ourselves in these rookie drafts. I mean, hell, in my league, Steve sniped me for both Javon Baker and Kamani Vidal in the 4th round just to be a dick. So, but yeah, I mean, it's things happen. People slide. There's going to be value. Every year stuff happens. I mean, Pacheco at Kansas City, who was almost undrafted, he breaks out and takes that role. Puka Nacua, who burst into the scene. He was drafted in some, but for the most part, spent most of the time off of rookie boards.
Tyreek Hill, AB.
Tyreek Hill, AB. Go down the line. There's guys out there. There are gems in these rounds. It's just trying to identify and break down the player and the opportunity and find that perfect mix. And I think everybody we've gone through today fits that mold.
Lastly, I do want to say this. Out of the players that we talked about today, I'm willing to bet that at least 2 of these hit.
We'll see how the season plays out.
In some degree.
Some of these guys might take a little bit longer than we give them
credit. Some degree. Some platform, 2 of these guys are going to hit. It's just bound to happen.
Yeah.
So that's going to wrap it up for the rookie review /previews here. what is next on the docket for you and I when it comes to the Dynasty Football Factory?
We'll keep it under wraps for now. Still work some things out.
Fair enough.
But we're ready to get some more original ideas going. I think everybody's doing these rookie reviews. Everybody's saying this is my guy, that's my guy, blah blah blah. Now it's time for us to get into who we are and try to find some fun podcasts for you guys. Get some good content out there. And I'm excited to have a little bit of freedom to get that done here at DFF. Steven, you got anything for the people before we get out of here?
Well, I do want to just reiterate the fact that, again, we're really pushing for you guys to be able to come in here with us on top of joining the Dynasty Football Factory as a member. That's what I was talking about. Like I said, it was $4.99 a month, $1.67 annually is what it breaks out to be. Very affordable. You also get a chance to come talk with us in our Discord. Yeah. And let me tell you.
Underrated
Discord.
Underrated Discord.
The knowledge in that Discord is crazy. Crazy. Love it. Love everyone that's in that Discord. Love everyone that contributes to the content. The articles are awesome. The podcasts we're now going. So, again, we can't wait to have some of that freedom, and we're going to really bring out some fun content for you guys, especially in a dead time, quote unquote, for Dynasty football. But guess what? We're going to have a lot of fun.
Never dead time.
Never
a dead time in Dynasty, baby. Hey, always be building. That's what we say, right?
Always be building.
Always be building. No time off, boys. Come on, lock in.
Lastly here, ladies and gentlemen, we want to just say, for the 200 people that were here watching with us all tonight, we appreciate you. I will drop the YouTube to my Twitter, the Always Be Building Twitter. I know DFF, they do a great job of promoting the YouTube over there, really trying to grow the subscriber count there. So if you like the video, like, comment, most importantly, subscribe. We really appreciate that. We're really trying to grow the YouTube. Twitter, we have a great platform. You guys are amazing. So we appreciate that. Now we're trying to work on our YouTube as well.
Trying to build the YouTube side of things. So, like I said, we're really trying to build this up. It would mean the world of us. I'm not the one to beg and plea. But just show us some support. If you enjoy the show, YouTube would be in the description when we post. That being said, those who were listening tonight, thank you to everybody. We appreciate you. We hope you learned something today. And we hope that your rookie drafts aren't ended. Otherwise, this is basically useless. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for me.
Yeah, and on that note, guys, we're going to call it a night. We hope you had a good weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and we are out.